Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Talk Around, organized by Women in Fox Sri Lanka. And now I take this opportunity to warmly welcome our speakers of the evening, Senior Lecturer and the Head of the Department of Data Science at NSBM Green University, Mr. Chaminda Vijay Singha, Senior Lecturer at the University of Sri Jawodanapura, Mr. Ranil P. Kolumbage, and Tech Lead at LSEG Technology, Ms. Rini Nayaka, to today's webinar. It's a pleasure to have all of you present here today. Researching is a crucial part of our academics and our careers. But once faced with a research, all kinds of problems regarding it arise. So, the purpose of today's webinar is to help you address the gap in knowledge of a significant research topic and to answer a number of common problems all of you have regarding research. So, without further ado, I cordially invite the Senior Lecturer and the Head of the Department of Data Science at NSBM Green University, Mr. Chaminda Vijay Singha, to elaborate on the topic Understanding the Research Process. The mic's yours, sir.
Thank you, Amanda. So I will share my screen. Okay, hope you all can see my computer screen. Yeah,
Yes,
so I'll be talking about understanding the research process. And I'm Chaminda Vijay Singh, as introduced by Amanda. And what is the research process? So there are multiple steps in this research process. It is a scientific, and then each step is interlinked with the other steps. So this starts with the problem at the very beginning, and then it advances into the next step sequentially. So we identify problems and then go beyond that to find a suitable scientific answer for that. So then generally a researcher conducts research work within seven steps. So what I have taken few steps and I have reduced it into 5 steps here because I consider that most of the participants here are basically undergraduates. And then you require a research proposal, and it is because the proposal approves the research project, whether you achieve the ability to conduct research or not. So when you write a research proposal, so present the detailed plans and specific objectives of your research correctly at the very beginning. So I will move on to the research steps. So I have taken this, but different researchers and the different authors in different books, you can find this research process defined in different ways. And there is no clear-cut way that these are the steps of the research process. You can define your research steps, but there are some significant milestones in every research project. And here I have taken these steps. Considering my participants are undergraduates, I'm not going into deep details of any of these topics, but real research, of course, because research are in different scales. And undergraduate, you will do basic research. And when it comes to postgraduate, you are doing some little advanced research. But in order to complete a real research project, I think PhD is the ultimate destination for that. So then you will be taking a long time and dive deep into the subject area, and you practice almost all these, most of these research methods available, and then you will get the experience, or you will get the license to enter into the research world. So this is basically the high end of the research, and therefore I'm not going to discuss in that level really, because considering most of my participants today are undergraduate students or just finishing their undergraduate studies and moving into the postgraduate studies. And then you have to choose a research topic first, then you have to narrow it down into find a niche area, then identify a research problem. Then once you identify the research problem, you have to develop a clear research questions. Then you have to create a research design to answer them, and then write your research proposal. So then you will be doing this research proposal throughout your research journey. And choosing a research topic, I think this is a very crucial step, because when you start the research topic, you cannot change it later, because most of the time, because when you spend your time, when you spend your money, and when you spend all these stuffs like hard works, and you cannot change the topic basically. So selecting the research topic means you even a student following a computer science. In the computer science discipline, we can find large research areas. So you are coming up with ideas. When you learn subjects during your undergraduate studies, you are having some subjects which are stuck in your mind. So you will dream. So if I can investigate in this particular area, so how it will be. And you will be very interesting on some topics, while some topics are not that much interesting. So you can find your topic based on your interest. So if you think that, so this is a very interesting area to me for further researching. So that is the best, I think. So you may be having lots of ideas in this subject, in this topic, and then you can start it in very broader level. So at the very beginning, you can start at the very broader level, but you have to narrow it down in the next step. When you are selecting a specific area, you have to narrow it down. But at the very beginning, your area may be a little broader. And you have to read widely to build background knowledge and narrow down your ideas. So without reading, you cannot narrow down, because then you're reading, you become rich in knowledge. So when you are rich in knowledge, you can select what is the specific area that I dive deep. And then again, you have to think about the practicalities as well, because research, even though you are interesting, you cannot do that, because you are in a particular, you are bounded in a particular environment that you have to finish it. So for example, if it is an undergraduate research, you have a time limit to finish your research. It is not a PhD level research. Then you have to think about the practicality of the research, whether I can finish this within this particular time period, and also the resource availability. Some universities are having lots of resources, especially to find literature, good databases, research databases. So these are some required resources for you to do the research. And if you don't have a huge database, then what are your alternatives for that? So you have to think about all these things. And if it is a empirical study, then you have to think about the other required facilities as well, because even if it is a financial, there are some financial commitments in the research, you have to find financial contributors for the research as well. So these are some other practical things that you have to think when you are selecting a topic. So for example, selecting a topic in artificial intelligence and software engineering. So artificial intelligence, and you may be working with some robotic things, then you have to spend some money on that. But when you are doing a research on software engineering like things, mostly you will be ending up with lots of codes and things like that sometimes. It depends on the topic that you have selected. And so then you have to think about the financial aspects as well when you are choosing a research topic. But there are lots of sources available for funding. So that is also a very important thing. And if you are interested on a particular topic which requires some finance, you can write a research proposal into financial aid organization. Those are internationally available. So you can find some such resources, and then you can get a research grant for that. Even in Sri Lanka, we have some institutions established. Even in the government, we have some institutions, so they are ready to fund for suitable researchers. And even the industry, I think there are lots of funds available. So I think our speakers also will talk about those stuffs here. And then you have to identify the problem. So you are in a broader domain, right? Now you are diving from that broader domain. You are driving from that broader domain into some specific area. So you have to identify a problem in your area. So for example, it is digital image processing. So you have selected the topic digital image processing. So then you are coming into that topic. So under that digital domain, you have to select a suitable problem. So how you can find a suitable problem? So to give your project focus and purpose, you must define the research problem. you must define the research problem. So this is the current context of this particular scenario. The problem might be very practical issue, or else it can be, you might choose to investigate a theoretical problem. So some processors, you can investigate some processors, or else you can investigate some practical issues, or else it may be some theory implementation. So proving a theory or something like that. It may be any problem that you find in. So some theories may be with the technological enhancement, some adoptions, some changes in theories may be required sometimes. So then you have to define your research problem clearly with these things. And then you write the problem statement to put the problem into context and set your objectives. And this will be describe who the problem affects and why research is needed, and how your research project will contribute to solving it. And then some students have, in practically when I teach, some students are coming up with different research problems. But we can find lots of problems in the society. We can find lots of problems in the society. So for some problems, you have to read the literature. For some problems, so in day-to-day life also, we can identify some problems. While you're traveling, you see things. So when you see some incidents, you can find some problems. When you see a queue, you will have some ideas. So how can I solve this problem? When you see some other scenarios, like even when you read a newspaper, you find some problems currently existing in Sri Lanka. So pandemics. So those are some problems. So there are lots of problems available in society. So then you have to find a solution. So you will wonder whether we can find a solution for that. Actually, you have to develop a good mindset to come out with solutions actually. So reading is a very important part in order to develop your mindset, I think. And also you have to think differently. You have to think differently. Sometimes you will see that this problem is not solvable problem using IT, but there can be some solution. So for example, solving dengue issues. So some diseases or the health issues. So how you will wonder how we can solve these problems using information technology. But even today, you can see that there are some investigations, there are some innovations coming out from IT to solve some health issues, to solve some pandemic issues, to solve some societal problems, to solve some political issues, many things. So IT has become a central solution provider, and therefore you can think. So reading and observing and thinking, all these things are very important nutritions to find solve problems. Then how you can formulate research questions. Actually, formulating a research question, it is quite tricky, because you will think that how you can set up my research questions. Because you may be having one research question, or you may be having more than one research question. So then how you are going to solve it? Actually, you have to have a main research question. So within that main research question, there can be some supporting sub-research questions. This question is coming because of these things, and therefore you can set up some sub-questions in order to support for the main questions. So setting up these small sub-questions is a very important part. Then you can divide your research into subsections actually. So you have to find answers for one section, and you have to find answers for the next section, like that. Then it is going to be a compilation. So you can find the solution for the main research by having some sub-research questions as well. Write one or more research questions, and should be specific enough that you can answer it thoroughly using appropriate qualitative or quantitative research methods. I will talk about what is qualitative and quantitative research methods. And in some types of research, develop a conceptual framework and hypothesis. But this is not mandatory thing. So some research you require to develop a conceptual framework and hypothesis, but some research you don't have to have a hypothesis, especially when it comes to qualitative types of research. You don't have to have hypothesis, but mostly quantitative types of research, you will be ending up with some hypothesis to prove or disprove. Okay, so then research design. The next step is research design. So the research design is a framework for addressing your research questions in a realistic manner. So what is, some people use it as a research strategy as well. So research design, so you have to, this is the most important part, apart from the research, finding the research question actually. Because if you do not formulate your research design properly, you will end up with some wrong results, or you will be ending up with some very miserable situations that you cannot find solutions for that. So this is, and therefore you have to carefully attend in this step, research design. So they have to decide whether you will use a qualitative or quantitative method. So what is a qualitative method and what is a quantitative method? So mostly today's literature, I find that lots of many researchers are into the qualitative context, and but it doesn't say that there are no quantitative research are there. But qualitative, I also prefer into the qualitative research, because we can deep dive into the problem and find solutions with qualitative research. Qualitative research, there are lots of methods in qualitative research. One is interviewing, so you can interview people, and then you can you can ask questions. You can start from some basic questions, and then you can deep dive into the informants, and then you can ask some specific questions based on that. And then the advantage of qualitative research is you can, so if it is a question or if the problem is totally unknown to you, I mean, you are not familiar with this particular domain. So the best thing will be qualitative research, because then you can ask questions to clarify your problems. Then again, you can find some other supporting documents as well. And even you can read some documents relating to that. And then content analysis, all these things can be possible with qualitative one. And then quantitative studies, mostly it is depending on some surveys. And survey, of course, you have to distribute some questionnaire. So you have to set up a good survey questions. Mostly these survey questions are supported from the literature as well. And it is good if you can develop some, you can use some theories as well. And there are some supporting questionnaires for these different theories. Then you can get the support of these established, well-established questionnaires. When are distributing, you can customize these questionnaires according to your requirement and distribute it. And today's world, of course, you can use some Google forms as well. So then you will get answers for these research items, question items. And so this is, again, I'm not going to talk about these stuffs in detail, but if you want to know about these stuffs, you can put these questions into the questionnaire session. And then if I'm more interested on these things, I can discuss those things in detail. What are the quantitative methods available? What are the qualitative methods available? And how you can ensure the trustworthiness, and how you can plan this type of research methods. I mean that the quantitative research, how you can do that, and qualitative research, how you can do that. So you can discuss those things in detail if you're interesting. And but those things are very important to know actually, because your trustworthiness of the research will be determined by these research methods, the right way of using these research methods. So mixed methods also can be possible, because some researchers, they want to so they get the qualitative research outcomes and they conduct it, and it will be verified by some quantitative study as well. So this is a mixed method. So you can use some triangulations as well. So you do research, you collect data from qualitative method, and then you verify it with some quantitative methods. And decide your data collection methods. So how you are going to collect your data? Are you going to conduct interviews if it is qualitative? So if you are going to conduct interviews, how you are going to find informants? So this is also a very important thing, because if you do not ask the questions from the right informant, you will not get the correct answers. So that will be some vague types of answers, which does not provide the right answers for your problem. And with the adoption, with the enhancement of this information technology, you can conduct some Skype interviews as well from people that you cannot reach. So if the people participants, if you want to get opinions from people living in other countries, then you can have some Skype calls and we can record record these meetings and the interviews. And but the best thing is if you can visit the location, and if you have face-to-face interviews, then it is much more better. The reason is you will get the real impression of with the environment. So you will study the environmental things. So for example, if you go to a particular village and get their interviews, then you know the environment, how they are living, and all these things are discoverable. But if you have it online, so then he will be in front of a device, then you also don't see the background. So that is a problem. And therefore, if it is possible, it is good to go there and collect your data. And online surveys, again, you can have these survey questionnaires prepared well, and you can have a pilot test, and you can modify these questionnaires according to the pilot test and distribute it as a final version when it comes to quantitative. I'm not discussing many methods, but basically most used methods are discussed with the time limitation. And then decide on your data analysis strategies, how you're going to analyze this data. If it is a qualitative, that is interview-like thing, you have to transcribe this data. That means voice has to be converted into text. And there are some softwares also available that you can convert this voice into text. So you can get the support of these softwares and convert this into text. And if the language is different, so for example, if you have taken these interviews in Sinhala, then you have to translate as well. Transliterate, we call it as transliterate, transcribe and transliterate. So you have to do two things there. And then you have to identify codes and codings. So then what the most important words in the literature, the literature in the sense transcribed data. So you have to read these things again and again. It is good if you can listen as well again and again until you become very familiar with this data. I'm telling this because you all are novice researchers, but when you become familiar with this interviewing process, you become familiar with that is not that much difficult. Then you will listen it for 1 or 2 times, then you can understand what are the important codes and codings there. And it is good you can read about how to identify codes and thematic analysis. You can search on the topic called thematic analysis, how to conduct a thematic analysis. Then you can identify how to conduct a thematic analysis for interview data. And if it is documents, again, documents, you have to find a similar approach can be possible with content analysis. And then if it is quantitative one, so then you have to decide on what type of data analysis is required in this particular area. Then you will ask how you can decide it. So actually, the best thing is you have to read similar research, right? Similar research. Then you will identify that. So for example, structural equation modeling, or if you can predict this results only by using some central tendency like mean, median, mode, and things like that. That is a very basic thing. But some researchers, they can be able to end up their results with this central tendency of this data. Some statistical method can be used. Or some people, they can use this structural equation modeling as well. So then you have to find with structural equation modeling, what type of attributes you have to measure, right? What type of attributes will determine your results. So that type of things are very important. So the best thing is you have to read about the similar researchers and how they have came up with their results. So that is the best that you can apply. So then the step 5, so reporting research findings. So you have analyzed your data, now you have to present your data. So this is a very important part again. So normally we write it as results and discussion, or some people will write results separately and discussions separately, or some people will write it as conclusions and discussions. So you describe the significance of your research study, and also you can, if in the discussion section, work out how do they relate to the previous research findings. So you can relate it. So what are the other researchers conducted in the similar domain and what they have found and what theory says. You have developed some hypothesis. If it is you have developed some hypothesis, and some hypothesis may be failed, some hypothesis may be true. So then you have to relate those hypothesis results with the previous results as well. So if the results is failed in your, if the hypothesis is failed in your research, but in the most of the previous research in the similar domain, if the hypothesis is true, then you have to justify, you have to find reasons and you have to explain it clearly why your research, your hypothesis failed while all the other previous hypotheses are passed. So then you can find some, if it is possible, you can find where this hypothesis failed in other researches as well. Then you can relate it that to studies as well. And it is good to relate with these previous studies, because then only you can ensure the correctness of the results. And usually the research report published as a journal article or a book. So journal articles, again, publishing in journal articles, there are different types of journal articles. Nowadays, we have the open access journals as well. But the problem with open access is you have to pay an article processing charge, which is quite a high amount. But there are some open access journals available for lower charges as well. And there are some journals available. If it is not open access journal, you can submit your article without any payment. So then there's a review process. So then they will provide reviews to you. So you have to correct these reviews, and then you have to resubmit your corrected article. And my advice is, when you are submitting an article to a journal, be careful of predatory journals. There are some predatory journals and predatory publishers as well. Never publish with them. They will get some money from you, and their review process is not that much strong, and those are not accepted in the research world. And therefore, when you are submitting a research article to a journal, go to predatory website. The predatory articles are available in some websites. So these journals are predatory journals, like that. Those are listed. One is the BELA's list, and also there's one called, so that is for the predatory publishers. And apart from that, predatory journals are also there. So you can search it from Google and compare, check whether the journal is available in this predatory list. And if it is available, it is a waste of your time and money, because those journals are not accepted in the research world. And therefore submit it into a good journal, because that review process is a very important thing, because you will learn a lot from the review process. You will learn a lot. Then you can have a good article where citations are expected. And or else you can write a book even. So that is also possible. And this is the last stage in terms of the individual research project. And mostly a research report discusses questions that remain unanswered and suggest further research in the future in general. So you can write a recommendation for future research, because you are the person who knows best about this particular domain after the research, and therefore you have discovered some areas. So you can highlight those areas for other researchers to find some further research. Or else, if there's a continuation from your same research, you can even suggest that one for future researchers. And I have prepared my presentation for half an hour, but we are available for the discussion sections as well. So thank you very much for the organizers and listeners. So you can keep your questions to be answered during the discussion section. Thank you, Sonali and Amanda.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a very insightful session. And so, moving on, now I'd like to cordially invite Senior lecturer at the University of Sri Jawadanapura, Mr. Ranil Piris Kolambage, to address the attendees on the topic Design Science Research as a Strategy to Enhance the Usefulness of Research. The mic's yours, sir.
Thank you, Amanda. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay, good evening, all. Actually, I also have few slides, and then hope I can cover the most important slides. It's about 30 minutes, and it's a fairly new term for undergraduate design science research. Therefore, I will focus to some important slides and skip some slides, but it is necessary to get the idea of the design science. That's why I included many slides. Then later we can share with you. Chaminda Vijay Singh explained about the research process. Therefore, I think now it is easy to continue with this discussion. I'm Ranil Piris, Senior Lecturer, Department of Information Technology, University of Sri Jawadanapura. Therefore, you can see here my faculty is Management Studies and Commerce. Then as a management faculty, then we have to think about usefulness of studies and to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. Sometimes when we hear about research, many people blame some research are not useful. There are so many research you hear from newspapers, so sometimes you will read as a part of course evaluations, right? You have to read research papers, but most of the research, there are some criticisms about the usefulness, right? That's why I selected this topic, especially as undergraduates and in information system professionals, how to enhance the usefulness of research. I'm not going to discuss research about definitions, right? But I will highlight two definitions. Research can be defined as understanding phenomena, right? It's a kind of a theoretical definition, more focused to the theory. Also, the second one, research is defined as the creation of new knowledge, use of existing knowledge in a way and creative way, so that is to generate new concept, methodologies and understanding. The second one is more focused to usefulness or to kind of applied research, right? When we talk about research, we can divide research into mainly into two types of research: applied and basic. As I briefly explained earlier, I think now you have an idea about the research means create of knowledge, right? There is no doubt all research should create knowledge, but some research create knowledge that is not directly applied to day-to-day. Normally we do research to solve problems, right? Solve problems and generate knowledge. Some research are important, right? They have fundamental value, right? You can see here two axes. One axis divided into two types. One is fundamental understanding is high, and the other is fundamental understanding no, or we can say low, right? Then the second one is the usefulness, consideration of use, right? Again, we can divide it into no and yes, right? For example, if you see, if there is no use and no fundamental understanding, it is not a research, right? But there are some research, these research help us to understand fundamentals. For example, Neil Boy, here you can see, although his name is not there, he studied about the behavior of atoms, right? It is very fundamental research. then why we say it is not used or not useful? I think it is wrong if we say not useful. Now, the idea of this categorization is generally it will not help to use day-to-day problems, right? But as we know, this understanding of atoms, it is very important for other research, right? The next one is the fundamental understanding, no, but usefulness is very high, or we can say yes. Here you can see in this right lower corner, Edison, or we know Edisonian experiments. For example, this bulb, right? We know Thomas Alva Edison about and his research. All these are very, very useful for day-to-day life, right? Then we can see these are also type of research, right? Then the top right corner, faster, or we know about his research. It is very fundamental and also very useful, right? Then I think now the question is how we can enhance the usefulness and also with some fundamental knowledge creation activity. This is an introduction. Now I will move to the more to the point, right? We work in information system field or in the discipline of information system field. Again, I included this side to explain about information system, but I think it is not necessary to go through all the details. You know, we create information systems to enhance the use information technology to support organizational activities, right? Then when we work in information system field, it is necessary to use, or I think it's better to say create IT artifacts. I am using here a new term called artifacts, or we can say things, right? I will highlight again the essence of this slide, right? Now here you can see the information technology, or this IT project has changed our life. For example, now all we are in a conference, right? And we are in a conference through an IT artifact, right? We call the commercial name is Zoom. The type is video conference tool, right? Now you can see how it has changed our life. If we don't have this facility, then we should go to a kind of a place, and then we have to gather. And also we can talk about these other artifacts, very important, like these e-channeling systems or e-banking systems, right? These have changed our life, right? Then actually this information system means collection of IT projects, right? Then when we create IT projects, we have to design them, right? Again, I am not going to discuss about design. It's another topic. Simply we can say design is a plan for arranging elements to accomplish a particular purpose, right? For example, now we have arranged our computer systems to participate a video conference, right? It is a very simple thing, right? Now, I think you are designing so many things, right? As information system professionals, even though you are undergraduates, you do small mini projects, and then you are trying to design things, right? Then therefore, it is very important to understand now when you design things, if you can link these designing activities with research, it is very useful, I will come to the point later. Now here you can see another slide. Now we have idea about a design. Design is something that is something to do a kind of a activity or arrangement for a particular purpose, right? Then the question is, when we are arranging things, is it a science? Because we discuss about science as create of new knowledge, right? Now here again you can see a table. Here you can see again two axes: application domain and solution maturity. Application domain maturity and solution maturity. For example, think about building industry, right? Application domain maturity is very high. If you need to build a home with 4 stairs, or if you need to build home in near beach, right? Although the surface is not consist, then you can do it because you can hire persons. The application domain is very mature. And also the solution maturity, there are so many solutions. For example, you have so many options when we are going to build a house, right? But there are some thing. Application domain is new and solution domain is new, or we can say application domain maturity is low and solution maturity is low. So for example, what about the think about the this coronavirus, right? Although there are vaccinations, right, still we don't know about the how it we know only little, right? Then we can say application domain maturity is low, and also solution maturity, there are vaccinations, but still we have doubt about these vaccinations. Therefore we can say these solutions are also not mature yet, right? Then if our design focus to new problems with new solutions, then we consider it as an invention, right? It is better if you can go to this place, right? I ignore the other two parts, you can read later. Now here I'm trying to explain, if you do general design, for example, suppose you have to create a software for a supermarket, right? Then how you create a software? Then you can read about software development process, or you can refer to different methodologies. Then you can select the methodology, then you can hire analysts and programmers, and then you can create a software, right? Then we don't consider, then finally you have a kind of a design. We say we are designing a system, but we don't consider it as a research. The reason is it will not create new knowledge. We are just following already established procedures, and then as a result we have a product, right? Now I think we have discussed about the research and the design, and also we discuss about how we can differentiate a design is a research or not, right? Now here you can see again I included few sentences, but the summary of this slide is, when we do research in information systems, it is very important to understand human behavior, right? Although we are developing technical systems, right? I think it is obvious we highly appreciate e-learning systems, right? And these conference systems, right? But what is the reality? If you interview a lecturer or university academics, right, they will blame for students not participating online lectures, right? Then where is the problem? It is very difficult to understand what is wrong with the phenomenon, right? Technically, now I think you can hear me clearly, and also you can see my presentation, and also you can see my video, right? Sometime if you come to classroom, if the classroom is very big, you cannot read this presentation clearly, or you can't see this clearly, and also sometimes you can't hear me clearly. But when we use these tools, the students can clearly listen and also see material, and also they can use chat or they can talk, but unfortunately they are not participating, right? Now, if we do research, if we know technical knowledge, it is not sufficient to understand that kind of problems, right? Then when we do research in information system, we need two types of knowledge. I think I will go to this slide. Now here you can see we have to understand social systems and technological system, right? Since these technological innovations, so these designs and products are very useful, then if we do research about these products or these things, it is very useful, right? Then the problem is how we do research about this technological system. Normally, as I explained earlier, when we develop a software for a supermarket, we don't consider it as a research. Therefore, they have kind of a problem how to do a research with this in this context, with this information system designs, right? Actually, the answer is, as I know, there may be different names, right? The general term is, we say, the answer is design science research, right? It is a I think you have heard about different type of research. Chamindevi Singh also discussed about qualitative research and quantitative research, right? But here, design science research is a high level framework, right? High level framework. You can do a qualitative research as part of a design science, or you can do quantitative research as a part of the design science research. That's why I use term high level framework, right? Then I will, again, I'm not going through the slides. I will explain the essence of this slide, right? Design science research is a research we create a kind of an artifact or something, right? Then we use it to understand the problem, right? Since our interest is developing a thing, end of the research process, we have something new and something useful. It will create knowledge. In addition, we have something used and useful, right? That is the core concept in design science research. Now, again, actually, I'm repeating the same question, right? Then how to differentiate routine design practice and design science research? If someone is designing a system for a hospital or supermarket, how it is differ from design science? For example, here, the example is, we know about iPod, right? Is it an iPod? iPod is a good design, but can we consider it as an example of design science research? What do you think about what is the answer? Is iPod is a design, whether we can consider iPod as a design science research? Actually, the answer is then we have to study about the iPod, if whether it create a new knowledge or whether it is just put already known things as together and just create a kind of another product. Then it is not a, we cannot consider it as a research. Another very important thing is in end of this session we will discuss as a part of research we publish our findings, right? It is very important. Sometimes people do research, they don't know, but they are doing research. Since they are not going to publish, then these knowledge are not useful, right? We know about this indigenous medicine, medicine, right? There are so many valuable knowledge, but unfortunately, we cannot use them. Right? I think now, since I started about 10:07, I can continue with about 10 minutes, right? Right. I think now I explained the most important terms. Then I will go to the, I will skip some slides, right? Then I will explain you the design science process. I already explained the design science is the scientific study and creation of artifacts as they are developed and used by people with the goal of solving practical problems of general interest, right? I will go through the process, then you can understand easily, right? Now, suppose as a part of your undergraduate research, you have to do a research, right? Normally what we do, we create a research topic, we identify research area or research problem, and then we create a questionnaire and distribute and collect data, analyze and publish, right? But in design science, then we go through this process. For example, first we should find a problem, right? And then we should understand clearly the problem, and then we should define the requirement and design and develop an artifact. Here, artifact, again, the design science is since it is a new for you, we need about 2-hour lecture to explain about the design science. But you can, if you just search in the Google, you can find so many free article about the design science, right? And they explained about 5 types of artifacts, right? You can create information system, a new theory, or concept, model, or method. These are the type of artifacts, right? Many people go to this information system artifact type, but based on your resources, time and other physical and human resources, then you can go to kind of a method or model, right? Then demonstrate artifacts and evaluate artifacts. Actually, the knowledge will create via testing something using a new design, right? Then based on that design, we will create new knowledge, and also at the end of the process, we have that artifact, right? I will explain here. You can see now why we don't consider design science as another research methodology. Right now, here you can see during the design science research process, you can use case studies, experimental studies, and also you can combine quantitative and qualitative research methods as parts of the main research design, right? Therefore, we don't consider design science as a type of research methodology, right? Now, I will, if you are interested, if you think you can use this methodology for your research, maybe undergraduate, right? You can try to get this canvas. If you fill this canvas, then actually you have a model for your design science research, right? For example, suppose you have a problem, right? Then you can explain your problem here. Then you can define requirements. And then you can explain how you are going to develop an artifact, demonstrate and evaluate, right? At the beginning, you will not have a clear idea about all these 5 steps, but you can start with the problem identification part, right? Now, here I actually selected this as a simple example. I will go through the most important points. And now you know this problem from the publishing domain, right? Now, if you go through this, you can see here, then publishers experience decreasing sales of books. It is a problem, right? Then they have identified, then people are not interested in reading books, and now they need to find an answer for this problem, right? Therefore, they request from you, suppose if you are doing research, right? Study about this and create a kind of artifact to increase the interest in reading, right? Interest in reading. Now, it is very clear that, please give me a few seconds. I think I have to connect the battery. Right, I'm sorry about that, right? Right, now here you can see now for this problem, you have to create a kind of digital artifact, right? Then based on your knowledge, then you can think about first, the first thing is we should understand the problem, right? Then we have to read about already developed solutions, and then we have to define requirements. Now it is very important, although we talk about publishing company, we are not going to design a kind of a product for a specific company or publishing house, right? We need to think about a kind of a general product or general artifact, right? Then we have to design an artifact and then demonstrate that artifact. We don't need to create a kind of a very this product or artifact with artifact as a final product, right? We can create a kind of a model and then we can demonstrate it, and then finally we can evaluate our artifact and we can share our the knowledge about our we have in the evaluate part. Actually, what we do a kind of experiment, right? Then we can share our findings with others. Then at the end of this process, most probably we will have a product that can be developed to motivate people in reading books, right? Now I think here you can see I'm not going to discuss because this is the general structure of a research paper. But in design science, when the structure is slightly different because of this artifact, right? We have to include the introduction. It is the general introduction session, but in the method section, we have to explain what type of methodologies we are going to use in our study. Then again, the problem and requirement, then what type of artifacts we are going to design, and then evaluation, and then finally the discussion, right? And then finally the conclusion. Sorry, the final part is conclusions. We have to explain. We have to discuss about the development process and finally about the artifact, right? I think now I have another case study, but I can skip that. I will share this presentation, and then if you need, you can get more detail. I think now my 30 minutes is over, and thank you very much. And then we can, if you have questions, we can discuss it during the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It was a very informative demonstration. And so now, moving on, I'd like to cordially invite Tech Lead at LSEG Technology, Ms. Srini Disanaika, to conduct the next session on how a productive research can be done in a commercial environment. It's over to you, ma'am.
Hello, hi all. So I'm Srini Disanaika, and I'm working as a tech lead in SEC Technology. Today I'm going to present you how a productive research can be done in a commercial environment. Okay, so let's move into the content. What is research and development? So you already know what is research and development. So I will repeat. R&D is kind of an investigation actually, with the goal of coming up with something new. Okay, yeah, it is kind of discovery that will result in a new product or a service.
Sorry for disturbing, Ms. Srini. We can't hear you clearly. Can you please volume up the volume?
Actually, at the beginning it was okay, but
Yeah,
later on it.
Is
beginning
it
it
better
was
now?
okay.
Is it better now?
Now it's the same. Yeah, it's when it's the beginning, it was okay.
It's better.
Yes, like it was better at the beginning. And suddenly it went down somehow. I don't
Let me check my settings. Hello, is
Ah,
it better now?
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great. Yeah, so so R&D is kind of an investigation, actually, with the goal of coming up with something new. So it's kind of a discovery that will result in a new product or a service, or we can say that that will improve or enhance an existing offering. So that's research and development, actually. So today my presentation focus on research in software development industry. Yeah, so why we so much bother about the importance of R&D in software development? So actually all of you know that there are new softwares in every place, hits the market every day. So today companies are investigating more in R&D ever than before. So there is no need to ask why R&D is important in software development. So because it is the ticket to remain competitive and to serve customers better than that competition, and also it will attract the human expertise that will move a company forward. So let's get a small example, simple example that will describe the importance of the R&D in software development. So let's consider the financial services industry. So when we apply, as we know, so earlier we didn't have any online platforms for banking applications, but now they have launched applications. So the customers can access their accounts online, check their balances, schedule transfers. Likewise, they can do multiple things. So as online banking grow every day, so consumers would demand new things from the bank application. So so when we apply research on banking applications, so the consumers will be able to receive personalized breakdowns of categories of expenses, or they can apply for online loans of all types, and also they can provide recommendations of how they are planned for short and long-term savings. So such likewise, we can improve any product using applying researches. So actually it is not with the banking industry, it is same with every business niche. So those the companies that invest in software R&D will gain a competitive edge. And those do not will pay the price of lost customers, and also they will stay in the second tier position in their relevant industries. Okay, so our burning question is how we make the research a productive one in a commercial environment, because there are some barriers in a commercial environment. So when it comes to a commercial research in a commercial environment, actually the ROI is a very critical factor. So companies do not want to invest in inefficient researchers that will give no benefit to the customer. So it's competitive value in the market. Yeah, what is this ROI mean? So ROI simply means return on investments. Okay, so actually it is a performance measure kind of thing used to evaluate the efficiency. Sorry about that. And it's also a performance measure used to evaluate the efficiency or profitability of an investment. So ROI means measures the amount of return on a particular investment relative to the investment's cost. So in addition to that, the timeline is more critical for such research in commercial world.
So we must have a proper timeline and predefined key milestones for the research. Because we are bound to communicate and present this to clients before getting the approvals for the new product, service, or improvements we are going to perform. So as I said, we are always, we should present some plan, a milestone plan, some deadline to the leadership, and also the client to get the prior approvals. Otherwise, we can't proceed with the with our researchers in a commercial environment. So how we conduct a successful research? So based on my experience, I listed down few points actually, so which covers both the technical and managerial aspects. The one thing is, this is a very key thing actually, clearly define the goals and metrics. So typically research tasks comes with lots of unknowns. So the team has to work with these unknowns, and they have to break these ice to make it move. So this is very important, because we can't time box, or we can't have a deadline, or we can decide on a deadline properly with these unknowns. Okay, so main research strategy is developed at the executive level. So the leadership level or management level. To make sure that the strategy being realized, it needs to be communicated down to the people who execute on it. So like other groups, R&D teams require line of sight to what the strategy is and how their work supports it. So, so it's very important to ensure your technical team understands why they are building and why they are building what they are building, okay? And how it contributes to the final, the overall alignment of the company goals. To kick off a research, so Initiator Research, we are usually following few things. The first one is actually a feasibility study. So we all know about feasibility studies. So we are also doing a feasibility study. Okay, so we are spending some initial time to check the feasibility. So this is more like a literature study. Let's say that we, for a research or for a product investment, so we are having so many options to achieve that, develop that project. So we have to find the best way, so best way that match our requirements. So we are using this phase, feasibility study phase, to study and select the options. So this is also time box. We didn't we never work without any time box. So this is also time box. So at the end of the time box, if the options are not working, then we will throw away, or we will not consider those options. Okay, so the next thing is prototype development. So this is more like the visual, the prototype is more like the visual appearance of the product. So this is also a time box development. So we give some time to develop a prototype kind of thing. So at the end of this phase, we are demonstrating that prototype to the client and also the leadership. So if they agree, then we will go ahead with the release. So because when we are doing prototype in commercial environment, we will match all the qualities, the qualitative requirements, and also we are implementing them like for a proper release. So if the client and leadership agrees, then we can straight away deliver it as a formal release. So if the client does not satisfied, or if there are major hinders, so then that prototype will be thrown away. Okay, so the third one is create a MVP. So MVP is a version of a product with just enough features to be used by early customers. So it's more like a functional aspect of the project. So so it's same. We follow the same process for MVP like prototype. development. So at the end of the phase, we will present the MVP to the client. So if he agrees, then we will continue. Yeah, so likewise, we have to clearly define the goals and matrices after these initial key things. So the second main thing is the transparency of the progress. Okay, so leadership now starts the process by setting a clear goal and outlining what output and success looks like. After that, R&D needs a mechanism to communicate progress from the bottom up. So that transparency helps keep individuals on the team engaged. They will be motivated and focus on what really matters to the company. And also it's much easier to for leadership to see the progress as well. So we use some methodologies to make the process transparent. So agile methodology is a key methodology that we are using. I think today almost all the software companies use agile methodology for their development work because it gives a very clear transparency on the progress and it gives short-term releases and it will give better transparency to the client as well. So in this, how we are doing this, I mean, how we are doing a research in agile methodology. So, so as I mentioned earlier, that feasibility study, prototype development, create a MVP. So all these are fit into a agile sprint. So usually we are having 2 weeks or 3 weeks sprint. The duration is 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So we are taking some task, prioritizing task into that sprint. So at the end of that time, and also after the planning, every day we are having daily stand-ups kind of thing. So all the team members gather and talk about their progress. So what we did yesterday, what I am doing today and what I supposed to do. So I'm planning to do tomorrow, and also the impediments. So what are the blocks I'm having? Likewise, we are always communicating with each other. So the Scrum Master is there. So Scrum Master manage all the impediments and the blocks. So so the Scrum Master then talk about this, and if the Scrum Master can resolve those impediments, then he or she resolve them. Otherwise, the Scrum Master inform the management. So likewise, that gives a better transparency on the progress. So and also at the end of the sprint, so there is a demo kind of thing, the review session. So we will demo the work we have done during the sprint to the product owner as well as the client and also the leadership. So they can review our work, so and give feedback, and we can plan the next step onward. So yeah, so that is a key thing. And also the issue tracking tools is a very important thing, because we can track all the issues and all the things we are doing, all the spikes and all the things using this issue tracking tools. And then idea and documentation portal. So we are documenting all the design decisions, design documents and all the ideas. So all the things we are documenting in portals, and we are sharing ideas. So for a particular research, all the things are in a one place, so anyone can easily access and read and understand all the things. So the other thing is team-based communication platforms. Actually, this is when we are physically at the office, this is I mean, not required, but now we are working remotely. This is a key thing actually. So this is very easy to communicate using platforms, because we can chat and we can call, and anytime we can communicate with team members. So it gives a better transparency of the progress as well. So actually I'm a Scrum Master, so I'm usually using Teams platform to communicate with my team members. So I can get early updates and all the things using that. Okay, so that's about that point. The next point is balance, focus, and exploration. So actually, this is critical to get the balance right between focus and idea exploration. So what is this? So it is exploring ideas is essential in every research. So otherwise that will not work. So exploring ideas is essential to discovering latest technologies and trends in the industry. But there is a danger of spending too much time exploring, because we are always have a time box kind of thing. So if we are at one step, if we spend too much time, then the next milestones will be elapsed. So on the flip side, if there is not enough time for focus, then opportunities staring you in the face may be missed. So there needs to be a healthy balance between idea exploration and focusing on selected core ideas. Okay. So the next one is focused on business awareness and problem solving. So while we are focusing on technical innovations, aligning the technical people with customer demand and business direction can be challenging sometimes, because we are building something, but customer doesn't want that. Likewise, there can be some conflicts. Keeping the end customer in mind, their changing needs, their problems, and how you can help will ensure your innovations are in demand. We should make sure that while we are focusing on the research, we should fulfill the customer goals and deadlines as well. Okay, so then in order to resolve that the problems in that point, we can actually have a product manager and crystallize our product design. So similar to a normal process development, during research also, there is always pressure to complete development as quickly as possible. So it's easy to provide an idea or directive on a whiteboard to pounding out code at a keyboard. A common mistake that we are doing, and we are believing that this is what being agile, this is the agile, but in reality this approach inevitably leads to miss expectations, poor quality, and also it will slip final release dates as well. So the reason for this is that there is no assigned product owner. One person should be given the responsibility to crystallize the product design and define exactly what a product or feature should do. The product owner owns the plan and is accountable for the success. So we also have a product owner. So he or she is the owner of the release actually. And the product owner should drive the release. So we always want to ensure efficiency as well. The quality of the development is a key factor. So so client will reject our releases, although we are giving the releases on time, but with poor quality. Okay, so so this start with well-organized and responsible timing from the product owner. So product owner should manage all the key milestones like the requirement gathering phase, development phase, and also the E2E testing phase, the load testing phase. Likewise, if the product manager miss anything or the team miss anything, then there will be a disaster at the client end. So so the product owner should always work with the team and be open and freely available and freely collaborative with the development team during our entire development cycle. So the next point is break down the silos. So what is this? Break down the silos means actually the process of limiting or removing the divisions between peoples in an organization. So in software companies, in a team that can have multiple sub teams like development team, leadership team, product owners, managers, and clients. Likewise, there are many teams. So developers need to collaborate. Developers are the one who are doing developing the product. So they need to collaborate with all teams involved to ensure the requirements and specifications are being covered, and while meeting the qualitative requirements as well as the deadlines. So by breaking down typical business unit silos, teams can be more effective with increased visibility and transparency. So this how we achieve this. So this can be done by developers. We can involve developers and QAs into customer calls, participating in design discussions and decision-making discussions as well as sales presentations. So by doing this, developers will feel more empowered to make decisions, and they will motivated to drive the ROI as well. So while it's important to protect your development team from those activities, because in Agile, we always follow that the Scrum Master should protect the development team from the external impediments and blocks. Okay, so but assuming it might improve their focus, this is actually counterproductive, because our team wants to deliver for the our company and our customers. So involve them in the discussions will improve their communication, motivation, and always output at the same time. So at one time, we didn't involve our developers in client meetings. Then the BAs involved in client meetings, and they come up with ideas and communicate back to the developers. So there were some conflicts. So but now we are following in our company this model. Actually, it is very successful. So developers also can talk with clients and get their ideas and directly communicate with them, and communicate our developers blocks and all the technical limitations as well.
I think Miss Rini is facing some kind of an issue and she got disconnected, and I hope you'll bear with us for a little while till she joins back.
Sorry, I got disconnected. Hope you can hear me. Yeah, okay, thanks. The next point is listen and be available. So this is more towards the leadership actually. So this is more for leaders. So having open dialogues with development team and encouraging feedbacks from them is a greater way. So because then they will be open up for the leaders, and they will communicate their the blocks and all the things, and also the progress. So and it will also establish good professional relationships as well. So as we know, specifications and requirements can sometimes be very unclear actually. So we are facing that. So they are ever changing. So although we are having the sign off from client, after that these things are changing. So it's kind of a pressure to the development team, because we did something, then again there is a new requirement, and then we have to change that. So having a development team that is enabled to speak their mind on how to address those tasks and those the blocks and all the things, improvements. So that will increase the productivity and their motivation as well. And yeah, so that's about listen and be available. So the last point is empower people. So this is all about give your team room to experiment. So actually strategic goals are very necessary for a commercial company, but talented people need to need room for explore, be creative, and also some people like to play outside the sandbox. So above all, the company's culture should empower people to experiment and contribute their best. So failures can happen, but we should not take them personally actually, and we should always encourage the employers. So because it will be a very good learning experience. So at LSEG actually we are having yearly award ceremony like thing for these innovative kind of ideas. So they are giving awards for individual innovators and as well as group for the group. So from that perspective, actually they are encouraging us for innovations and research actually. Yeah, so that's all about how we are doing a productive research in a commercial environment actually. So then I will move into a case study quickly. So this is an actual case study done in our company by a separate team. So the problem is, so I will go through the problem and all that, and I will match the things that I explained earlier to this problem. Okay, so the problem is finding a big data solution to replace in-house data warehouse module. So the expected outcome is we have several options. So we have to select the best option and present the selected option to the EXCO with a business case. Okay, so as I said earlier, first the leadership team set the goals, the main goals and the milestones. So they present the evaluation criteria kind of thing to the team. So you should achieve these things after your research. Okay, so I will explain some few points. So like the option should support super fast for both real-time and historic data retrieval, and also high availability and reliability should be there. So obviously scalability should be there, and also availability of commercial support, nature of the vendor, because our customers doesn't want some products from some geographical or political backgrounds. Yeah, likewise, there are a set of evaluation criteria and I mean the goals provided by the leadership team to the development team. Okay, so then what are the challenges we face while meeting this the guideline, the criteria? Okay, so match the required real-time performance. So the leadership gave us you should match the performance numbers into this much. So when doing so, we have challenges. I mean, the team, the development team had challenges. So there are having too many options to choose from. I think there are more than 10 options. So out of 10 options, we have to select one. So it is very difficult actually. So, and also unavailability of uniform performance results and unavailability of data on high availability. So when comparing options, so a key factor is performance results and high availability results. So if we don't have those results, then we have to manually perform those tests. So it's a time consuming one. So for this particular research, we got 3 months, that the development team got 3 months with 3 engineers. But in this case, these 3 engineers are very, I mean, expertise to that area. luckily, but it is not the case always. So it is not practical. So not only, I mean, in most cases, we can't have expertise engineers in our teams. We have to learn and we have to gather information and we have to continue. Yeah. So in this case, we have, yeah. So what is the methodology? So here, as I said, there are a few milestones. So there are like 3 steps, 3 filtering development team. So the first level of filtering is the literature survey, the feasibility study like thing. So there are 10 plus options from those options. So the team did a background study and also a basic analysis about those things, considering this geographical, commercial, and license, all the factors. So they shortlisted up to 4 options from that 10 plus options. So this is kind of a bit easy filtering level. So this then second level, the second level of filtering, they ran some test cases on each databases and compare performances. So then they could actually shortlisted to 3 options, but it's very time consuming because you have to run performance tests on each option. So then third level, during the third level, actually, they ran high availability test cases and they managed to shortlist it to 2 options. But there is a challenge after this third level. Because that 1 options we already selected out of 2, they have to dismiss actually based on a certain discovery about the commercial vendor. So that commercial vendor is related to a geographical location. That is, our customer doesn't want to get product from that geographical location. So because of that, we have to dismiss that option. So in commercial environments, there can be such limitations, but in academic, they will not. Yeah. So that is the methodology, and also this is. These are the techniques to control the cost and results of the research actually. So actually these are very true results, and these are matching the points that I presented actually. So frequent meeting to evaluate the situation. That means transparency. So they have like agile working methodology, and so they communicate the impediments quickly, so leadership can take prompt actions for them. And also they didn't have a static plan. So as per the results of the first filtering level, then they change the plans based on the latest results accordingly. So likewise, they follow those things and also review results with an outsider. So then we can have a different vision, and the panel, the outsider panel, ask challenging questions, critically evaluate the results. So it will surely help to choose the best option possible. And also minimum but adequate documentation to justify the result. So that is a key thing actually. We always should document all the things, all the design decisions we have, why we dismiss this option, why we choose this option, what are the comparisons between these two. Likewise, they did documentation to justify their results. So that is actually about the case study, and that we came to the end of my presentation. So thank you very much. We will meet during the discussion of issues. Thank you.
Thank you for your insight, ma'am. Next on the agenda is the Q&A session. And okay, so as most of you might remember, prior to this webinar, we conducted a little survey to collect questions you might have about researching. And out of them, we selected a few most commonly asked questions. And today, I will be forwarding the questions to our judges, and they will give you elaborate answers. And afterwards, once those questions are answered, the attendees of today's webinar are free to ask any question they have regarding research from our speakers. You may unmute your mics or simply put your questions in the chat. Okay, so now let's move on to the first question on the list. It says, how to refine gathered information for the research. I hope one of our speakers would be able to answer the question. How to refine gathered information for the research.
Yeah, Amanda, actually, the refining, of course, it is very, very crucial part, really, because you have to follow the flow in the research, because once you read literature, you can find lots of information, but all this information are not relevant with your research study. Then you have a set of research questions, and if the supporting articles are providing you information to answer these research questions, first you have to, in the literature review, the main thing is you have to provide a very good, strong background. What are the conducted research in this area, and what are the gaps in the research, and so all these things has to be addressed in the literature review part. So, and therefore this refining part, I think it will be coming mainly in the literature review part. So literature review, when you write the literature review, you have to constructively write it. So that is mainly regarding with the academic writing, because writing paragraphs, so you can follow two methods actually. One is the deductive and the other one is the inductive method. So like when you write a paragraph, you have to start with the paragraph like a title topic, right? Title sentence. So that means that sentence can be considered as a title, but it's not a title. But anyway, so that first line has to provide the description of the paragraph. What you're going to talk about this paragraph. Then you start in that particular line. So then you have a particular segment or particular area that you are going to write in that particular paragraph. So you constructively write all these things and then justify in the final line, you summarize it. So this is what you are saying. And then you have another topic to discuss. So then go to the next paragraph. Like that, you can discuss these things in the literature review. So you have to, so the refining is actually, you have to provide valid arguments into the supporting to find answers to your research questions. That is the main thing. Don't write unnecessary things there. So that means out of your research scope. If you are writing something out of your research scope, that is again a problem, because you are taking your reader away from your article. So don't do that. You have to stick the reader within your article throughout the article. So the literature review is the most important part. Then also you can write some stuff in the discussion section as well, taken from other literature. So these are the two areas that you'll be refining your articles and writing it there. I think I have addressed your question, but the other speakers also can talk about this.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other insights on the question? I think I can move on to the next one. Okay. And if we consider artificial intelligence and machine learning, they're very famous and prominent technologies in the present day. And so the next question is concerned with these two technologies. It says how to integrate AI and ML in our research. A method to integrate artificial intelligence and machine learning in one's research.
Amanda, are you addressing this question to one particular speaker or else in general to anyone?
No, sir, in general to anyone.
Okay, so may I ask that question also?
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah. So the artificial intelligence and machine learning, actually it is an interesting part really. And most of the questions you find, most of the research questions, you will be able to find answers from machine learning or artificial intelligence. But it doesn't say that almost all this. So if you are going to do a research in anthropology, right, and then you will not be able to find answers from machine learning or artificial intelligence. So Your research question should relate with something machine learning and artificial intelligence, then only you can adopt that knowledge into that. But how to adapt machine learning and artificial intelligence? Definitely, you have to have a good knowledge on machine learning and artificial intelligence. Then only you know you will come up with solutions in AI and machine learning, the data science related things. Then only you can apply it. So the best thing is, my best advice is read literature. Read literature. So then you will get ideas. So that will give you a good insight into the domain. I mean, so you can, when you read, say for example, how to overcome a particular pandemic issue using machine learning, something like that. So you definitely will be able to find some answers, but it has to be supported with the previous literature. If you have not read articles in the previous literature, then it is very hard to come up with a new idea, because something comes into your mind if you have the domain knowledge. Otherwise, it doesn't come. So, for example, if you ask a question from someone who doesn't know about machine learning or artificial intelligence, he will never come up with the solution from that domain. So you have to have a domain knowledge. So that is the most important thing. So best thing is read articles related with your discipline, not only machine learning and artificial intelligence, whatever the discipline you want to apply into a research area, you have to have a good knowledge in that. So read the domain knowledge. So that is my advice.
So thank you very much. I think whoever asked the question got a clear answer for their question. And so I think the next question is more concerned with Ms. Srini, because it's related to commercial research. And the question is, what are the main concerns of commercial research apart from ROI?
Sorry, Amanda, can you repeat?
Okay, ma'am. What are the main concerns of commercial research apart from ROI?
Okay. So apart from ROI, actually, timeline is the critical point. So always we have to bound to a time box timeline actually. So client want a latency critical, latency improved product, while they are wanting it to limiting to a timeline. So timeline is another critical factor, and also data actually. It's in academic research, I think it's a bit easy to find multiple kind of data, but in a commercial research, we don't have many data, because let's say we are building a new product to a client, but we can't have their sample sample data until we sign the agreement. Likewise, so we can't have a feasibility study stage. During the feasibility study, we can't have data. Likewise, so it's very critical to access data, and yeah, so that's another thing. And I think quality, regarding quality, that that is important factor in both academic and commercial environments. And also the finding the right people. So as I said in my case study, in that case study, we could get expertise people, but it's not the real case actually. The product now I'm working, so almost all the people are new to cloud native. So actually I'm also new, so we have to learn and get to know the technology, and also we have to research on that. So it's a bit difficult within a given timeline. So those are the things actually are the challenging ones after the ROI.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So most of the questions that we found through the survey we conducted were actually covered through the 3 sessions today. So those were the ones that were left that needed more elaboration on. So now we can move on to the actual Q&A session where the audience can ask questions from our speakers themselves. And now you may unmute your mics and ask yourself, or you can post them on the chat as well. There's a question in the chat. When you do research in a commercial environment, are we usually allowed to publish the results, given it has value for public? And if it's difficult to get permission to publish results from the management, what can we do about that to convince the management?
So as I said, so we are always doing research for a client actually. So because we have to have, someone has to invest on our working. So we always have a client, so we have an agreement. So we can't publish the results to the public. But the case study I explain, it's a open source one. So we can actually talk about some specifics about it to the public. So that's why I choose that actually. So since so if we have a specific client, we never can make it to public because there are agreements. So we cannot convince the management because it may be a violation, security violation from the client perspective.
We have to abide with the data protection rules and all these things. And again, so if the idea is important for the other people for further evaluations, so the company or the research team can get patent. So the patenting, so after getting the patent, I mean, not the data, I'm not talking about the data here. I'm talking about the outcome of the research. So if it is valuable, so for example, finding a, so this, in the pandemic situation, so many organizations are doing different experiments and they are coming out with the results. So these results is important for the general public. So what they can do is they can get the patent, then other people cannot copy it. So the copyright permissions is with the company, commercial. And also there can be some research, collaborative research like industry and the academic collaboration research. So again, so we set up all the agreements. So what type of data we are going to disclose, so what type of data we are not going to disclose, so all these things. So everything has to be abide by that agreement we are signing, and therefore there is no point of forcing management to reveal this data.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. So there are more questions in the chat. What are the best research documenting formats and how to identify the appropriate one for our project?
Yeah, actually document, of course, research article format. Every journal has their own article format. So for example, if you go to Emerald, they have a unique article format. So you have to follow their article format. So for example, you have to write the research title first and the objectives, aims and objectives, then the methodology you have used and the findings and outcome and originality of the article or the research. So they have to write it in the abstract section, but in some other journals, they are following different other formats. So you have to write the abstract separately, and in the abstract, this is normally the abstract should contain a particular thing, like you have to write motivation for reader, then you have to write the research questions, and then what methodologies you have used, and then finally what is your outcome, and some important points on the discussion section. So likewise you have to write the abstract, that is the general abstract that you are writing. And apart from that, the common document format is the IMRD, Introduction, Methodology, Results and Discussion. So this is general format, but different journals, they have different article formats really. But the general thing is IMRD, that is Introduction, Methodology, Results and Discussion.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the next question. What is the best approach to conduct a research for a startup?
Advice is find a commercializable problem. So if you start a startup without any commercial value, you will end up with failure, because if there is no commercial interest with the other people, so if you cannot commercialize this idea, there is no point of starting it. So then the best thing is you can do even market research on the idea. So whether this is required by the people, then only you can start the startup. Otherwise, it is going to be a failure. So commercializability is the most important part, as I understand, but Srini also can comment on that.
Yeah, you covered everything. So if it means how to conduct commercial research within a startup, I think in a startup there are very few people, and also they are hiring the people as per their, I mean, if there is a project in hand, they are hiring people to match the expertise level, required expertise level. So they can hire the people with match the required expertise, I think, apart from the other points I explained in my presentation. So, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. Are there any questions? That's all we have on the chat. And if you have any more questions, you may even unmute yourself and ask. No more questions?
And Amanda, I saw one question that they were asking for where we can find literature for a particular research domain. Actually, this is a very good question, because being in Sri Lanka, we have less resourced in academic literature. Because in most of the foreign, the Western countries, universities in the West world, their universities are collaborated, or the so they have enough finance in universities, and therefore they have opened they have the access to these big databases, commercial database, academic databases. But those are very expensive. But unfortunately, Sri Lankan universities, we have very limited resources into these academic databases, and therefore students are finding difficulties of getting knowledge or the literature in these topics. So my advice is go to open access databases. There is a one called DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals. Directory of Open Access Journals, DOAJ. So just browse there. You can find open access journals, and then you can find articles in this open access journals. So that is the best resource that you can use. I think more than 7 million articles are available in DOAJ. 7 million, more than 7 million articles. So that is a good resource for most of these researchers, young researchers especially. And also go to Google Scholar. You can find lots of resources from Google Scholar as well, scholar.google.com. So there also you can just type your research area or the research keywords, then you can find articles for that. So, and JSTOR, so that is also one good database. But unfortunately, some articles you have to get access from an institution or as license. But there are lots of articles available, again, free and open source articles, open access articles. That will be a good trend, I think. So the FOSS is organizing this event. That is also, we are talking about free and open source. Here also we have open access journals as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Seems that there aren't any more questions. So I believe we can wrap up today's session. And so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our speakers once again for sparing their time and for conducting such a meaningful webinar for us today. And now I cordially invite a co-member of Women in FOSS Sri Lanka, Ms. Sanadi Madhavala, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Amanda. And hello, everyone. So now we are almost at the end of the today's event. So I believe that all of you has got a clear idea about how to perform a good research, and you have learned so many new things. So first of all, I would like to thank our speakers, Mr. Shaminda Vijayasinghe, who is the head of the data science department at NSBM Reed University, and Mr. Ranil Piris Kolombage, who is the senior lecturer at University of Sri Jayawardenepura, and Ms. Srini Disanayaka, who is the tech lead at LSCG Technology. So thank you very much for enlightening us with the knowledge, and we are so grateful to you for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate us with a valuable session. Also, I would like to thank FOSS Sri Lanka Community Lead, Mr. Danushka Chandana, and Women in FOSS Sri Lanka Community Lead, Ms. Bihari Punchiheva, and all members of FOSS and Mozilla communities for their support. And I also extend my thanks to all the members of NSBM, Ugavellasa, Rajarata, ICBT Kandy, SLIT, and IIT Women in FOSS Campus Clubs. And I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for all the campus representatives and all the members of Women in FOSS Sri Lanka who really worked hard to make this event more successful. And I'm really humbled by the many contributions you have made to this session. Finally, thank you to everyone present here for paying your attention and learning. So I think it's time to conclude the session. So hope to see you soon all with another valuable session. So until that, stay safe and good night. Thank you.